Hey everybody, my name is Mike King. I'm a course author and instructor here at Berklee Online, and I have the pleasure of welcoming Tony Van Veen here
Hi, Mike.
to, hey Tony, to our studios here in the Back Bay in Boston. Appreciate you coming.
Great to be here. I've been hiring Berkeley grads for 25 years, and this is actually my first time here at Berkeley, so it's really very exciting for me.
First of several, yeah, we'll have you
Many,
back.
hopefully.
We'll have you back if this goes well. If not, we'll
Sounds
see.
good.
So, uh, there's a lot I want to talk to you about, and we've got limited time. But I would love for you to kind of start. How did you get into the business? How did you get to where you are right now as the president of CD Baby?
Well, I grew up as a kid. I grew up in Aruba, and I grew up playing alto sax and, brass bands like Brazilian style kind of carnival brass bands. And uh, came to college in the United States, went to the University of Pennsylvania, decided that I wanted to pursue a business degree. And just as luck would have it, there were a bunch of kids I was friendly with on my floor who were into hardcore punk, and so they invited me a couple of weeks in, to a hardcore punk gig in Philly, and I had nothing else to do, so I said, "Sure, I'll go." And it was this thing. I mean, you can understand no hardcore punk in Aruba, right?
Yeah.
I'd never heard it before, and the first band starts, and it's like, "Rrrr," and I'm like, "Oh my lord, what is this, right? What's this noise?" And I was so green, right off the boat, as it were. When the mosh pit starts, I thought a big fight had broken out,
Uh-huh.
and so couple weeks later, there was another gig, and they invited me again. I had no plans, and I figured, well, we'll drink beer, and so after a few times of that, I kind of got into it. My ears got used to it, and so I'd always wanted to play drums, and opportunity came up, to try out for a band, and they had a god awful drummer, couldn't keep a beat, couldn't, do a roll without tripping over himself. And I thought, hey, this is my shot. If I'm ever going to play drums,
Yeah.
It's hardcore punk. How hard could it be?
Uh-huh.
And so, I sat behind a kit, and my audition was the first time I actually ever sat behind a kit. And so,
Awesome.
so
Trial by
I
fire.
got the gig.
Yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history. It was the first time, you start jamming, playing some covers of some other tunes. And
Yeah.
then, I remember, a friend of mine said, hey, how about we write a song? I'm like, cool. So that concept, like, I can do that? I could just decide to write a song and just write it?
Yeah.
Was so liberating, so empowering. And that whole punk rock ethos of, write your own damn songs, book your own damn tour, make your own damn record, it was like a switch got flipped, and it was just, that was me. I loved it. We toured regionally, we made records, we sold our own records, we did recording. And so, when I graduated college, I thought, this is cool. I'd like to do work in the record biz. And I called my parents in Aruba and said, Mom, Dad, I want to stay here and get a job in the record biz. And they said, all right, good luck, son. And I was like, oh, I got to pay rent. So I couldn't really afford to break into the way that kids at that time, this is 25 years ago, broke into the biz, which was, and probably now still to an extent, interning for free at a
Yeah.
record label,
That's how I
a
got
radio station,
Yeah.
a recording mastering studio, you name it. I needed to pay rent. And so I found somehow disc makers, which at the time was a small, now this is 1987, it was a small regional vinyl record pressing plant. And the gentleman who owned it, a gentleman by the name of Morris Ballin, was also happened to be a University of Pennsylvania grad. And he offered me a job. And, the company at that time was starting to transition away from selling primarily, commodity, low-priced record pressing in volume to record labels, which is a very tough business, to seeing that, there were guys like me out there, as recording equipment, tape drives, decks, and mixing boards started getting smaller. home and project studios started springing up, and so there started to become a little bit of a demand for DIY kind of productions, artists recording and making their own records. And so we kind of pioneered that package concept that exists now. That's very common, right? You order, you pay a company $1,000, they make the CDs, they print on them, they print the covers, they pack them, all that. It didn't exist
It didn't
back in
exist.
1987
Yeah.
that way. And so we kind of pioneered that. We built that together. We learned how to market to musicians, and we, as we learned how to market, the packages became more popular. We started selling at first more vinyl, and then when the CD came around, we basically just rode that wave, the growth wave of CDs.
That's good timing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, company was founded in 1946, so pressing 78 RPM shellac discs. So we had migrated through all the formats: 78s, 45s,
Yep.
LPs, 8-tracks, cassettes, CDs, and then later on DVDs, and then, so we were growing the business, and then around the turn of the century, I started, you asked how I became president. I started pretty entry level, helping the owner with marketing. I did customer service, I did sales, I did a bit of everything, and gradually, as I guess I did a good job, I became a manager, then I became a director, and I became a VP, and really the marketing, sales, and customer service, kind of the front of the house, was always my thing, my expertise. And in 2000, a little company called Napster sprung onto the scene, and I looked at that, and I thought, we gotta do something here in this space, because if not, we're going to be a dinosaur. Disc makers is going to be a dinosaur. And we never wanted to be a last man standing, the last record pressing guy, the last CD pressing guy, the last cassette guy. We don't see ourselves as a CD company. We see our job as helping artists get content to market, regardless of the format. And so I looked at what was going on in the marketplace. I had a relationship early on in 2000, 2001 that we established with Derek Sivers, who ran CD Baby. With CD Baby, we were sending our CD clients over to CD Baby to sell their CDs online, which is what CD Baby did in the early years. And then after a few years, when the iTunes store was launched, Derek converted his whole CD catalog to digital, and became the first digital aggregator to kind of distribute independent content, DIY content to CD Baby. And so as time went on and I canvassed the marketplace, I figured out, okay, I can't just be working through this kind of third-party relationship. We need to have our own thing. I couldn't see how I could build, or we could build, a better mousetrap, do it better than really the leaders in the space. And I saw there were two companies that I benchmarked. One, from a consumer perspective, was Apple. That whole Apple, iTunes, iPod ecosphere was just an incredibly compelling, easy, customer...
The player, the library in the store.
Customer
all right
experience.
Yeah.
I couldn't do a better thing than that. And I thought on the artist side, nobody did it better than CD Baby. And, since I was friendly with Derek, we would talk, 2, 3, 4 times a year anyway, because A, we had a business relationship, and B, we shared a bunch of interests in the industry. And we talk about industry, have long conversations. And at some point in time, I thought, if I can't build something better, I want to buy. We need to buy something, buy a company that that we can continue to migrate with the technology. And we couldn't afford to buy Apple, and so we I started to whisper in Derek's ear when we would speak at the end of our calls. I said, Derek, listen, if you're ever tired of running this baby, call me. I'm interested in having a conversation. And so he called me in January 2008, and the rest is proverbial history.
Yeah, it's a great story, and I love that it starts with punk music and the DIY ethos. And there's this book, Our Band Could Be Your Life, by Michael Azerrad.
Yep.
And you read that, and you read about like Black Flag and everything that people are talking about now with DIY. The tools are different, but the process has been the same in a way, back to the 70s. So to hear that you started as a punk drummer, to get where you are right now, and that kind of the same ethos happens throughout is really interesting to me.
That should be our tagline: helping artists stick it to the man for 25 years.
That's good.
You know, I mean, yeah, Black Flag, Bad Brains,
Yeah.
all these bands.
Yeah.
You know, those were my idols
Yeah.
back in the day. But you know, the cool thing is, you know, I mean, it's incredibly empowering for me. You know, obviously, I wasn't talented enough to make a living playing music and writing music, but I'm helping thousands, tens of thousands
Yeah.
of artists every year do that.
Yeah, it's
Have a
fulfilling.
shot at
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
and that's extremely motivating. You know, my wife asked me why I'm singing in the shower on Monday morning. It's because I love what I do. You know,
Yeah.
it's empowering, and it's expanded way beyond just music, right? I help independent filmmakers. You know, we help ad agencies. We help authors. You know, we have with CD Baby a company we launched called Book Baby that does for authors what CD Baby does.
Yeah.
You know, for musicians. You know, ebook publishing and distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, you know, all independent content creators. We aim to have a channel for them to get that content to market.
So let's dig into that a little bit more. You bought CD Baby in 2008. For the folks that might not be familiar with everything that CD Baby does, you know, I think you're very well known for independent online distribution, but Book Baby maybe people don't know about. Can you talk a little bit about what CD Baby is? What are the different parts of CD Baby?
Yeah, CD Baby, you know, at its core, and the bulk of our volume comes from independent music distribution. So what does that mean? We help artists, again, get their content everywhere as broadly as possible. But over time, we have evolved the business as the market has evolved, as it's actually, believe it or not, even with digital markets, as it's harder for artists to make money from their music, from selling their music, we have evolved into other alternative revenue streams and collections for artists. So the bulk of our services today and revenue that we provide to artists comes from digital distribution, distributing their content to iTunes, Amazon, all the download stores, the Spotify's, Rhapsody, RDO, you know, the streaming sites. We do a significant amount still of CD distribution and CD retail. You know, we have our own store, cdbaby.com, where music is available for download, or physical product is
You can buy physical product and
able
get
to
ship
be
it from
sold.
Portland,
Correct.
right? Yep.
But we also have a partnership with Alliance Entertainment, which is the largest CD and DVD distributor in the country, I think. That gets the content, the CDs. You know, they actually store CDs in their warehouse for us, and they have a list of 15,000 client stores, brick and mortar and online, that basically can buy products. So we have, in 2012, 2013, we're seeing growth in CD revenue.
Interesting. Yeah.
Now, the CD revenue overall is smaller than the digital revenue
Yeah.
because the iTunes store is so humongous.
Yeah.
But the CD revenue is continuing to grow. I think we're the only guys that actually do the digital plus the physical. And most artists have CDs, so there is real value there. So then,
can we stop just for a second? Because I'm really interested in the physical distribution part. So you also work with Super D, right? As a one-stop.
Yes. Now, what you may not know is that Super D recently acquired Alliance.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, so now it's Super D and Alliance. I guess they're in the process, any post-acquisition process.
Yeah.
That trying to figure out how to kind of merge that thing if they're going to merge. I have no insight into what their plans
Interesting.
might be.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of mergers within distribution recently, the last couple of years.
absolutely. Any business that becomes challenging or challenged at some point in time, it gets tough enough, you start seeing that kind of consolidation.
Yeah. So, what was interesting to me, and I worked at a label and I worked at the distribution arm of Rykodisc for a period of time. There's a difference between a one-stop and a distributor, where a one-stop, and correct me when I speak out of turn here, a one-stop is an organization where if I go to Newberry Comics and something I'm looking for is not there, I can say to the person at Newberry Comics, hey, I'm looking for the new Dirty Projectors record. It's not here. Can you order it for me?
Yes.
So is that what you provide through Alliance and Super D?
Correct. So
Okay.
they function as one stops.
Yeah.
They are one stop. The one stop basically means exactly what you said. They carry product from a bunch of distributors
Yeah.
and independent content to be a one stop for whatever CD that you need
Yeah.
from whatever artist, whatever label.
Yeah.
You can order it there.
Which is different than a full service distributor where there might be regional reps that go and they meet with the buyer and say, hey, I've got this new release and here's a new release worksheet. Is there related marketing that the One Stop does to the retailers if they have a CD through CD Baby?
They They can, but they generally don't. I mean, the marketing all comes at a cost, right?
Yeah.
You know, the label, the content owner, the artist
The
ends
co-op.
up
Yeah.
ends up paying for it. And it is, you know, one of the knocks that we hear is, well, you guys aren't promoting my product. How are you expecting my product to sell if you're not promoting it?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is, we're not a promotion company.
That's not the retailers.
Our job as a
distributors,
retailer and as a distributor is to fill the demand
Yeah.
that you, as the artist or the label, create.
That's right.
Go out there, build a fan list, gig, start creating demand for your product, and we're there. Our pipe is as fat as you need it, right?
Yeah.
We can ship as much product as there is demand for.
Yeah.
That is our function.
So that's I've heard it said distribution follows marketing. So you really have to have a reason for people to go in the stores. And, to bring this back to a label, you can buy your way into stores through co-op. You can buy different programs
Sure.
and get your CDs in there. But what happens is, what's interesting in the record industry, all those records will be shipped back as returns if there's no demand for them.
You
Yeah.
can't buy. You can buy a lot of things. You can buy placement. You can buy airplay, but you can't necessarily buy popularity.
Yeah.
You can drive it. If you spend enough on radio promo and your song gets played over and over, yes, popularity is a possible result, but you may go bankrupt buying it.
Yeah.
So anyway, back real
Yeah.
quick to CD Baby's services, because
Sure.
we've evolved to doing much more than just distribution. We have moved into sync licensing, i.e., licensing music, to get your song into film, TV, commercials, games. We have a YouTube program, where we will register our artists' recordings with YouTube that allows YouTube to sell ads against the videos, potentially their own videos, but also when some random person somehow uses their song, this artist's song, in their snowboarding video, YouTube can identify that, sell ads against that,
Yeah.
and then there's a rev share basically
That's
to the
right.
artist. So we help facilitate that.
I love that. Yeah.
We do a lot of direct to fan. We have a widget an artist can drop into their own website to sell product. Whatever's available on CD Baby, they can sell.
Yeah.
Downloads, physical product, vinyl. Off their own website, and we have a Facebook music store so that artists can sell product off their Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And then, recently we got into basically publishing. We launched a service called CD Baby Pro, where we are the publishing agent for songwriters. We register them with one of the PROs, with ASCAP or BMI. We register their songs with ASCAP or BMI, and then whatever performance royalties are collected, as well as mechanical license royalties for foreign sales, we collect, and then we pay that out to the artist. One of the reasons the registration is important is, many songwriters think, oh, I'm registered with ASCAP, I'm covered.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if ASCAP can't identify your songs, you're not covered, right? You have to actually register all those
That's
compositions
the importance of administration.
every single time. It's
Yeah.
not just enough to be a member.
So I'd love to talk a little bit more about CD Baby Pro. It's really interesting to me, and I love what you're doing with YouTube, and you're working with some interesting partners. So you're working with Songtrust, I believe, and you're working with Rumblefish, I believe.
Correct.
Those two. And Songtrust, I know those guys, very smart, doing some really innovative things.
Yes.
They have a publishing arm and everything. So with CD Baby Pro, maybe we can start a little bit because publishing can be confusing. Maybe we should start about you handle administration through CD Baby Pro, although you have the relationship with Songtrust to do exploitation. But at a top level, administration is what you're describing. It's the registration of your copyrights and it's the collection. You know,
Correct.
so exactly what you said, where if you're not registering your songs, that's, you know, nobody knows. And I think there's value to working with an administrator because the idea that you can do every single thing yourself, right? And you can be a self-publisher.
That's one of the things,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can go to ASCAP or BMI yourself. There's no doubt about it, and you can do that.
Yeah.
And you can go to YouTube yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you can go, you know, to a sync library yourself, and you can go get distribution yourself here and there,
Right.
and you can do each one. You know, you can get your own direct to fan. You can deal with 6 or 7 different companies.
Yeah.
Do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Some of them you pay fees to. Some of them you know take a commission. Some of them may be free. What we have kind of tried to do before we get back onto CD Baby Pro is, you know, set CD Baby up as the commerce hub for the artist. That we try to focus on. There's one sign-up process, and from that one sign-up process, we can collect for you all of your music's various revenue streams. You know, license fees, royalties, sales revenue.
Yeah.
You know, licensing if you get it in a commercial or something like that. So that with one sign-up process, from one artist dashboard, you know, it's all right there. And because we so easily get you everywhere, you end up making, you know, use of all your music's revenue opportunities and driving more revenue.
And providing yourself with more time to do songwriting and focusing on your art because while
Exactly
it's
right.
possible to do all of these things, in my mind it's unrealistic when you reach a certain point. Certainly when you're starting off, you do have to handle all of the things yourself, you know?
You know, when you're the
Yeah.
artist, the business side usually is a drag, right? So the
Unless
easier,
your mind
the
is
easy-
wired and, you know,
absolutely.
yeah,
but
yeah,
for,
yeah.
for many musicians, and I don't think it's a stretch to say for most musicians,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's you're much more into writing, practicing, and performing,
Yeah.
you know, than you're into, you know, track and royalty statements, and
completely, yeah.
you know, looking at breakdowns of, you know, how many fractions of pennies I got paid from Spotify plays or
Yeah.
or what have
See, I
you.
think it's valuable to understand how that stuff works, but I'm not sure it's time well spent if you are the person actually doing all of those things. Like the act of exploitation, calling a music supervisor up and pitching your music, that's a time-consuming endeavor. You know, the act of administering your own music, that's a time-consuming. You know? So I like the idea that there are services like CD Baby that does handle all of these things for you for a lower fee. You know, there's value there, I think.
It allows the artist to focus on their craft, as you
Yeah.
say, A, and B, on something that's probably just about almost as important as
Yeah.
your craft, which is building a fan base,
Right. Yeah.
right? And gaining that notoriety in a positive. You know, notoriety is
Yeah.
a term that has a negative connotation, but really gaining that notoriety, that positive, you know, awareness.
Yeah.
With potential fans, with the marketplace.
No, completely. And you look at any successful artist. So, you know, I'm thinking about YouTube and what you're doing with YouTube. And there was a woman that worked here at Berklee a couple of years back that I had as a student. Her name is Amy Heidemann, and she was in a band called Carmen. And she, you know, it looked to people on the outside that she did one cover, and her co-writer Nick did one cover of a Chris Brown song and blew up. But that's not exactly how it went. It was this long process of very intelligently pulling off this bigger thing. So she got where she was after all of this work, but she totally focused on YouTube and this process, you know?
You know, almost every overnight success,
Yeah.
if you really delve deeper, is 3, 5, 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes lightning still strikes,
Right.
you know, or it takes a lightning strike to become a success after 10 years even. But there certainly are some things that as an artist you can do. And there's a path you can follow, a strategy, and those may differ from artist to artist depending on who you are, what you're into, what your music is, etc.
Yeah, it's true. So getting back into CD Baby Pro, one thing you touched on is, and the thing that's very interesting to me, is international mechanical royalties that an artist would be missing. If they're not, you guys collect international mechanical royalties that wouldn't be delivered to an artist here in the U.S. How does that work exactly? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, in Europe, for example, mechanical collections work differently from in the U.S. Right here, if you want to cover a song, record a cover song, you have to pay for a license up front through a Harry Fox, and in Europe, it's different. Where at retail, a fee is taken for mechanicals on everything that's recorded, including your own. You pay a fee for mechanicals on your own compositions.
Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah.
And so those monies all get turned over to the societies
Okay.
in those countries, and frequently they don't know. When your product gets sold, they don't actually know who to pay.
Yeah.
This is one of the big things as well. And the reason we've kind of combined these is, with the performance royalties as well in the U.S. There's a huge pool of monies that's collected.
Can't find the
that's,
people. Sound Exchange
from anonymous.
Has that problem. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've worked with Sound Exchange. I mean, the last Sound Exchange match that we did uncovered something like, among our client base for CD Baby, $10 million in unpaid Sound Exchange royalties.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dough.
Yeah, which really speaks to the amount of money that is in satellite radio and streaming and internet.
Yeah. Well, a big chunk of that comes from Pandora, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so our basically what we do and our goal with our CD Baby Pro service is basically raise our hand and say, we own, or we represent these songs, and then basically identify them and get artists those royalties that were collected for them, that they're entitled to. Now, let's be realistic. The royalty revenues are modest today. The YouTube revenues are modest today, unless you blow up like Gangnam Style or something like that, right? But for many, emerging artists, until you start getting, significant views, the royalties tend to be modest. But it's all incremental.
Yeah, it is.
So why not get it, right? Why leave any money on the table? And that's why, that's why we've kind of decided, let's do all of it for the artist. Where there's money to be made, let's collect it. Let's help them get it, because it's all incremental, and let's make it easy for them.
The other thing is some of these services are YouTube in and of itself is not necessarily new in the world of technology, but the fact that independent artists can now monetize their videos, that's somewhat new. So I'm sure it will evolve, as a process and as a revenue stream. There's a lot of things that are just happening now.
Yeah, YouTube is it's become just a killer application for music. I'm sure the YouTube guys did not think that they would become, the largest music platform in the world.
That's it. Yeah.
But when I can't find, what I'm looking for on my streaming service of choice, I go to YouTube.
Yeah.
I look first at the streaming service because I'm there, I have an account, it's easy, and, it's convenient. But it's always, inevitably, what I look for is available on YouTube. It's pretty
I know.
Pretty amazing.
And it looks like they're going to make that into a legitimate streaming service, or there's rumors about that I'm interested in. You know what? We're talking a lot here, and I haven't taken any questions, so I want to do that right now. So let me just you know what? Someone actually sent me some questions earlier that I think will be a good place to start. Amy Brassley asks, our band released our first EP in July, and we didn't take advantage of PR opportunities, album reviews, or blogs at the time of the release. Is our EP considered old news since it has been out for 4 months now? And what can we do now to build awareness and increase sales of that EP?
Hard to tell, if your EP is old news. I mean, but I can say this: it's never too late to build momentum. I mean, there are old tracks that get put on new hot playlists and kind of blow up. Volume just blows up just because of something serendipitous that happened. So no, it's not too late. I mean, as an artist, as a performer, your job is to create demand for your music. So utilize the blogs. Do what you can. Gig, build a fan list. It's not that complicated, right? Artists come to me all the time asking, what's the latest tip that you're seeing performers or artists do that get them famous? And my advice is always, don't worry about that. Most artists don't do the basics.
Yeah, that's
Focus
true.
on the basics.
Yeah, there is no silver bullet that it works for everybody.
Well,
really,
what do I do? What are the basics? Well, the first step in the basics, learn how to write a great song. A great song does not guarantee success, but a bad song guarantees failure, right? So you increase your chances greatly by learning how to write great songs. Be a great performer. You want to wow people with your performance. You want them to walk away thinking, wow, I can't wait to see them again. Don't scowl. Don't be boring. Be engaging. You're in showbiz, right?
Yeah.
Entertain. It doesn't mean you have to be smiley. If you're a metal band, you don't have to be smiley, but you can be intense. You can be into it. And then there's look, building your fan base. You want to use whatever tools you can to capture contact information from potential fans, right?
Yeah, right.
An email address, give away free tracks on your website in exchange for, an email address.
Yeah.
This has value. It's actually not free. You're getting paid with an email address. Even in this age of social media, your email list is going to be the biggest revenue driver that you can have.
It is.
Email list drives much more revenue than Facebook, than Twitter, than
multiple folds bigger. Yeah,
and
it really
anything
is. Yeah, right.
anything else that you could do. So give away stuff for free. Collect names at gigs. Heck, have people. Everybody's got a smartphone.
Yeah.
Make them email you from their smartphone. Ask them from the stage. Listen, if you want to be on my email list, just send me an email to Tony@discmakers.com or whatever.
Yeah.
And capture them right there. I don't know why artists don't do that.
Yeah.
Routinely.
Yeah.
So it's that, and then yes, work in the blogs, work in radio, but those are, if you're a great performer and a strong songwriter, and you get out and you perform, that's how you start, and you build that client base, and you sell product at shows. That's how you start building that momentum as an artist.
No, it's true. One thing I would add for Amy's situation, I think derivatives could work. So if she has an EP, maybe she wants to try some in exchange for an email address, with an idea of building up awareness. acoustic version, live version, and trying different things in these email for media widgets. So she's getting contact information. She's speaking about that. And the last thing is when, she has a new record, oftentimes record 2 will pull along record 1,
Yeah,
So that sort
absolutely.
of thing,
I mean, those are
Yeah.
all things you can do. We have a client named Brian Mazzaferri. He is lead singer for a band called I Fight Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote an article a couple of years ago. I think it was on Hypebot or
Yeah, I read that.
and I'm sure you can Google it. That how he adds 200 email addresses a week to his database. And I asked him, how do you do it? He says, very simple. We record all the time, and we give it away.
Mm-hmm.
We give away our best content for free in exchange for an email address. We record originals, we record covers, and he says one of the things that works really well is if you are friends with other bands in the same genre and they have a mailing list and you have a mailing list, record one of their songs, have them record one of yours, and then you cross email basically. You email your list, hey, so and so covered our song. Check it out for free.
Yeah.
Bam, that band gets dozens, if not hundreds, of new emails.
Yeah.
And vice versa, they do the same for you. So there's great things. You do have to start thinking not just like a business person, because you have to think like a business person, obviously. But when I tell an average musician, think like a business person, they tune out, right? They're thinking business.
Yeah.
Oh, they blank out. But the fact is, the marketing of your music, writing newsletters, writing email copy, coming up with promotional campaigns, coming up with offers of, buy one, get one free. You got old CDs left that you didn't sell? Take your new one. Tell your fans at your gig, listen, the first 25 buyers of our new CD get a free copy of our first CD, right? Be creative. That process is just as creative in a way as writing songs and recording.
Yeah, and I like the idea of like a lean startup approach too, where you're doing things quickly, you're putting things out there, you're iterating, you're testing, seeing what works, and do more of what works, earlier on.
Yes.
You mentioned cover songs
And measure.
too.
You have to measure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great tools out there that do that now. You mentioned cover songs, and I think that's really important from a couple of different, directions. But like from the idea that you never want someone to come up empty when they search for you in a search box or they search for a particular song somewhere. So YouTube, many stories of people that are doing killer song covers, and then the idea is they find this cover that this band is doing, and then they drill down more into what else the band is into, and then falls in love with the band based on
covers.
Search.
Yeah. For an emerging artist, covers are quite possibly the single best way to run into, for potential fans to run into them, right?
Yeah.
If you record a cover, and it's really, generally, you don't want to cover necessarily one of the top hits.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to cover, a Rihanna track or something like that, it's like, there's so many of people already trying to cover that, and instrumental versions, and people just trying to tag onto that. But if you have a B-level track, right?
Yeah.
Heck, example. If you're a punk rock band, why not cover a Black Flag track, right? And when when some old punk like me is looking for Six Pack by Black Flag online, and I see Six Pack by some other band, I might click on it and listen to it, and if I like it, I might buy it.
Yeah.
Right.
You drill down
So
into it.
so there's a strategy to doing that, but absolutely, many an artist's career has gotten a little spark initially by
it's true.
doing it.
And it's easier than ever to do it with rights flow as an example. You mentioned Harry Fox, which can give you a compulsory license. Rights flow does it for like $9 too. It's a simple process to get everything legal you need to do in order, to get the compulsory license to do a cover and to sell a cover.
Correct. And Rights Flow is our partner.
Yeah.
You can through CD Baby, get to Rights Flow and
Nice.
license your content.
So I feel badly here because I haven't taken too many questions, so I'm going to get back into it.
Hey, I got all night, so no worries.
That's great. Yeah, the Red Sox aren't playing tonight, right? So,
Correct.
Okay, so this is a good question. It's from somebody in Australia. I can tell because the PRO they're associated with is APRA. So that's Australian Performing Rights Organization, or yeah, I think that's it. Anyhow, the question is, when you live in another country, is it worth registering with ASCAP, or do we stick with the collection agency we are already with? And this person's saying, for example, mine is APRA. I think I don't believe you can register with another PRO, but I'm not sure about that. Do you know?
I don't know about opera specifically,
Yeah.
but usually the official PRO in any country tends to have a reciprocal agreement with one of the major PROs in the U.S.
Okay.
To cover that collection, that royalty collection
this
in the
case,
territory.
They should probably talk to Opera to figure it out, but Opera could have a relationship with ASCAP or BMI already, and so they're covered.
In
Opera.
most cases,
Interesting.
yes,
Okay.
most likely.
That's good. I didn't know that.
This is actually one of the reasons why, many of these royalty payments tend to take a long time. They can take 9 months or more after a performance because of all these reciprocal agreements. One performing rights society collects it, it goes to another, and then it finally goes to the final one. And they all, in between, it takes time
14%
to transfer, and they, and they sit on it and they process it, and then it goes at the end of the next quarter, and so on and so forth. So it can take a long time, but if things start moving, the monies can start adding up.
Yeah. This is a pretty good one here, and I wanted to ask you about this too. This person is asking, basically, are platforms like Spotify, etc., giving back enough honorable revenue to artists? So the question is, and I think it's a good one, and I might be reframing this, but should artists stay away? You guys distribute to everybody, I think you distribute more than any other distributor out there. So should artists say, Tony, I'm not interested in Spotify or RDO or Beats Music, because I don't agree that they're paying enough to me. What would be your opinion on that? And I know you're partners with these people.
I have
Yeah.
I have a very strong opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
The genie is out of the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot get the genie back in the bottle. We can't stop Spotify. Now, you can stop distributing your music through Spotify, but Spotify, do they pay? Yes. Do they pay a lot? No. You're getting, half a penny per stream, give or take. So, in order to get the equivalent money that one download pays you, right?
Yeah.
The download stores typically pay for a 99-cent download, they pay 70 cents.
Yeah.
On a stream, whether it's Spotify or any of them, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to credit either anyone or pick on anyone in
Rhapsody,
particular.
Spotify,
at half a penny per stream, on average, and again, it does vary. Somebody has to listen to your song 140 times to make the same 70 cents from one download sale. So that's a lot of plays that you need.
Yeah.
That said, it is what it is, and so. My message to artists usually is leverage every channel you can.
I agree.
I don't understand people saying, I don't want to give my music away for free because it cost me money to record, or it took a lot of mental anguish in creative verve to get where this recording is today, because. The question is, what do you want to do with your music? Now, if you just want to be a weekend warrior or you just want to do it for the love of it, great. Then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you want to be able to make a living with it at some point in time, your enemy is not Spotify. Your enemy is not piracy.
Yeah.
Your enemy is anonymity.
There's a Tim O'Reilly quote about that exactly. The curse of the developing artist is anonymity, not piracy.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with it.
And he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so my take to you as an artist is, take your product, take your music, put it everywhere you can. Put it for free, it's you should be so lucky that it goes viral and 100,000 people download your track for free. Because that means that next time around, you're not anonymous anymore.
Yeah.
And then you can monetize your
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
So, but in the meantime, why not use Spotify? Look at Spotify as a promotional platform, right? As I mentioned earlier, when I'm looking, I hear a new track, or I hear about a track and I want to check it out, I go to Spotify because it costs me nothing extra. But I can listen to it and the artist still gets paid. It may only be half a penny. But if I like it, I'll listen to it over and over and over again, and it'll add up. But if you as the artist look at it as a promotional platform, then you just make it easier for the consumer like me to find your music.
Yeah. I think a good thing that these services can do, and I hope they shift in this direction, is start to provide the artist with some information about who's listening to their music, you know? So
I don't think that's going to happen.
No?
Ever. No, because that's that's where they add value. That's their magic sauce, right?
Yeah.
They are not going to tell you, a retailer is not going to tell you who's buying your music, because that's where they add that value, right? iTunes is so important to artists because they own that customer relationship, and there's no way in hell they're going to
you're
give
right
that
about
up.
that.
Now, CD
Yeah.
Baby's a little different. When CD Baby sells your content as an artist, the customer can opt in to have their email address get on the artist's
Yeah.
mailing list.
But even some basic analytics I think would be helpful from Spotify, like, you know what, the Midwest is pretty good for you, or something like that, you know, so you know to route your tour in a certain way. It's interesting. I know what you're saying about that, and I hope it shifts in that direction.
But the fact of the matter is they
Yeah.
don't need to, right?
Yeah.
They don't need to.
Other than they have a little bit of a PR problem, you know, and if they can say to developing artists, hey, we're doing this, maybe they're not interested in that. Yeah.
Maybe they don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe, they are focused. Look, they need, they needed the majors on board
Yeah.
to launch a viable service. Besides that, they're focused on customer acquisition and customer revenue generation, right? That is their focus. What can we do? And this is the right way to look at it
Right.
from a business perspective. What can we do to drive revenue, for our business and for our vendors, which is really what the labels and
Right.
the artists are.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let me just be sure. We're way over time. So maybe I'll ask one more question here. We kind of covered this with the advent of digital publishing and iTunes. How viable do you think CDs are now? I don't remember if we talked about this when the cameras are on or beforehand.
No.
So maybe we talk a little bit about CDs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy to. CDs continue to be very viable. In fact, CDs continue to be necessary. Think about it. The emerging artists, certainly in the U.S. and in most markets, though not every market, but in certainly the larger markets, as an emerging artist, you generally don't get onto radio. You generally have a hard time getting traditional distribution. It's hard to get into retail.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make money as an artist? You make a disproportionate amount of your emerging artist revenue from gigging, right? You get a piece of the door, and then you got merch. There's two kinds of merch that you really have to sell as an artist. There's CDs and there's T-shirts. Everything else is window dressing. Those are the big movers. So the difference between having a CD and not having a CD can mean the difference between, walking out of your gig with nothing, or if you sell 10 CDs, you got $100.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's, it's gas money, it's strings and picks and,
Yeah.
and drumsticks. And so it's a needle mover. We are producing today with disc makers more CD titles every year than ever before. The number of titles continues to increase. Now, digital technology has made it possible and affordable to have a true retail product in much smaller quantities, right? And so what we are seeing is, more and more artists are ordering 100 instead of 1,000, which is fine. honestly, I don't want to sell artists CDs that they can't get rid of, either give away or sell.
Mm-hmm.
It's wasteful.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the artist needs, if they buy 100 and they sell out, we'll be here to
Yeah.
take a reorder.
Yeah.
And so CDs are still viable as a revenue driver, not because they're a primary channel to, or primarily medium to get audio content to a fan. I mean, you can, off your phone, you can get access to most of this content instantly. The role of the CD has shifted from being a carrier of musical content primarily to being almost more like a souvenir,
Mm-hmm.
like I was there.
Yeah.
Right? My kids, I have 2 kids in college. They never bought a CD in their life until they started going to check out indie bands, and all of a sudden they're coming home with CDs
Yeah.
that are autographed by the artist,
Right.
and they're loving it.
It's meaningful at that level, So I think that the thing for me is don't misunderstand what's going on with like other large retailers shutting down, like Circuit City or Borders. Like that's a whole different scene. But people that are super engaged with an artist and they go to a show and they're blown away. They want something else. They want a takeaway, And I think even artists that sell off of their own site and they can make some high end, physical options, or they can bring that on tour too.
Yeah.
I think it's really important
Yeah.
to do that actually.
Exactly right. Look, and there is a market, a part of the market, the mainstream market, that still likes owning a physical product.
Right.
So, you can go digital only, but don't misunderstand. You will leave money on the table if you go digital only.
Yep.
And again, with digital production techniques nowadays, you can have 100 discs for $200.
Yeah.
You
don't have to order the 1,000 that you had to in the past.
No. And look, discs are getting cheap anyway, right? You can have 1,000 discs for $800-900, 80, 90 cents a disc. You actually don't have to sell that many at $10 a pop,
right,
to get your money back, right?
Yeah.
You sell 10% of your discs, and you got money back for all the 100.
That's where it's at right now, 90 cents with the
yeah
color insert and stuff.
between 80 cents and $1.
Huh. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So it's really affordable.
Yeah, it is good. Tony, it's been great. Thank you for staying overtime here.
Oh, great to be here.
Yeah, it was really good
fun.
conversation. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had here. Have a great rest of your evening, and go Red Sox. Thanks.